So, welcome back. I'm Elena Stout, and joining me today also is my colleague Tracy.
Hi, everyone.
And this is our final webinar of the year, which means you have all successfully hosted your Duke Energy Science Night events. Congratulations. We have loved seeing your photos, your highlights on social media, and I know that our team members had a lot of fun attending some of your events. So thank you so much for all of your efforts. We understand that it takes a lot of energy, dedication, time, and creativity to host a Duke Energy Science Night. So we'd just like to take a moment to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for orchestrating this very impactful learning experience for your students. And Tracy, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Nope, you said it well. I saw some awesome stuff, and I was only able to get to 3 sites, so I can't imagine what all was out there that I didn't get to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of cool stuff. So I want to share a quick video with you all that I've been working on. It's less than a minute long, just a short compilation of some of your event photos. So I still actually have photos that are rolling in. So my goal is to have every school represented in this little video. So I think it's just fun to see some other schools' photos, and we might be sharing this video with our partners or even using it for some future marketing. Oh, I didn't want to play it again. All right. And of course, we'd like to extend a special thanks one last time to some of our key partners, Catherine Mulholland, who's Executive Director at SCCMS, our partner at the Duke Energy Foundation, Amanda Dow, and our partner in North Carolina, Jonathan Frederick. None of this would have been possible without their partnership, so we really, really appreciate them. And we are really excited to share that of the school surveys that we have received, we do have a couple of stragglers. But so far, it's been reported that there have been 9,292 attendees at Duke Energy Science Night events this year, with 1,432 school staff at the events and another 419 volunteers. That is amazing. And all of these numbers have increased from last year's reports. So it's very exciting to see that this program is continuing to impact more and more individuals across the Duke Energy region. So our main objective of this wrap-up webinar is really to provide a space for all of you to share your experiences and learn from each other. So first, we'll start with feedback on the activities, the materials, the resources that you received in your kit, and also those online resources. So just to get you thinking, we do have a few questions on the slide for you to think about. Did you experience any challenges? Do you have any suggestions regarding the materials and the resources that were provided? Or do you have any ideas for new activities that would work really well for a Duke Energy Science Night? So I will open the floor. Please feel free to unmute and share any thoughts that you might have. Did anyone have a favorite activity from this year?
I like the garden and a glove. That seemed to be
Yeah,
most popular at my school. Yeah, that was neat.
very cool. Love to hear that. That was a pretty cool activity.
Our kids love that. And they love the magnetic painting. That was a hugely popular. And then the flute. Those were the three main ones everybody wanted to go to.
And that was something that they could take home with them
Yes.
too, with those
Mhm.
activities. So I think that definitely makes an activity pretty popular.
The Galilean canon was really popular at our school. And I was just going to say that the videos were incredibly helpful, like, especially for our teachers. I got so many thank yous for the videos this year. So I thought that that was a great resource that you guys provided for us.
Yes, our partners in North Carolina do a fabulous job with those videos, and we give them kudos for those all the time. We're like, please keep making these videos. They're awesome. Everyone loves them. So we will continue to put in a good word so they keep making those videos because they're very helpful.
And even the direction sheet. So I had it was Build a Bubble, and the teacher that was supposed to be there, she became sick and could not stay that afternoon. And so I actually had some of my student volunteers because I have Beta Club members who are who volunteer as well from our school as well as from the high school, and they said, Miss Britt, we'll do it, and they picked up the directions and they went with it. And so,
I love that. So
oh,
it was a great experience for those older students too. They
yes.
participate as well. I love that.
The one thing, talking about the new idea. So I was not on campus the morning of our Duke Science Night. I had a meeting. I started getting these. I had an email and I had a Google Doc where kids have figured out how to contact me because they wanted to run a station. We had our robotics team showing off our. We have a robotics club, and I allowed our robotics club to show off our drones because that was something new this year. And the other kids started emailing me. They figured out a way to get to through my email, even a Google Docs, because they wanted to help out. Different kids wanted to help out at different stations. So one thing that I think I'm going to do next year is that we are the intermediate school. We're going to invite, it's the perfect time because it's the spring. I'm going to have them to invite the primary third graders over from the primary school so that they get used to our school. That's another inviting way for them to come and visit BIS on a fun night and let my kids, along with my volunteers, along with my teachers were basically facilitators and making sure the materials were there. And so they absolutely loved it, the kids this year. And it was mostly my fifth graders.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Sounds like it was a very successful event, and I love your ideas to continue expanding your event. Great. Thank you so much for sharing. Anyone else have any other thoughts or feedback on the activities, the materials, the resources? This is the time to share.
It is the time to share because what we do next after we pull all your data from your surveys and our webinar and our emails that you send us is we meet with our partners and we start talking about the next round. And one of the questions our partner will always ask us is, what did you hear? What do we need to do differently? We need some new activities in our library of activities. So the more input we get, the better quality we end up with. So don't hesitate to share.
I joined a few minutes late, but we did ours outside. I don't know if any others did that, but we had a tent for each station, like a tailgate tent, and it was outside in a parking lot as a part of another larger event. I'm at York Technical College, and we had our 60th anniversary celebration called Tech Fest. Um, the numbers that have been reported was 3,000 people came to the event. I don't have exact numbers of how many came over to what we call the Kids Corner, where we had the Duke Energy Science Night going on. But everything was very well suited to being done in a parking lot where parents and their children could come and listen to whoever was leading the activity, which some were teachers, some were York Tech students, some were high school students who were our volunteers, so they knew what they were doing. The one activity, there were two. There was that Galilean cannon. The children were, I guess, tired because of the sunlight, and they didn't want to go chase that ball. And it ended up being our volunteer who was chasing that ball all over the parking lot. That was a little bit troublesome. And then the magnetic painting, the kids were enjoying that, but it was a little messy. And I saw a lot of parents, when the child was distracted with the next activity, the parents were dropping that in the wastebasket. But those were the only two that I'd say maybe if there's something else, maybe not quite as messy. And the Galilean cannon probably would have been great in a classroom or dropping it on a carpet. But when it hits that pavement, it just goes anywhere. And it was our adult who was running after it. He was a trooper though. But everything went very, very well. We added face painting. We added a face painting tent, which I had no idea was that popular. But all the kids wanted their faces painted, and it went very, very well.
I've heard good things about the event at York Technical College, so awesome job putting that on.
It went very, very well. Thank you all.
Thankfully, we had the Galilean cannon in our gym, and that worked out much better.
Yes.
It can only go so far, right?
That's right. That's
Not in
right.
the parking lot.
I could only imagine.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Do we have any other thoughts before we move on? All right, well, you've already shared some of these, but my next slide is success stories. Of course, we want to hear your success stories. So if you had a creative or a unique idea that worked really well for your event, or even if you had that this was definitely worth it moment, we would love to hear those stories.
I
One thing
created,
that we did, I got the idea from somebody else on here on the last one. We actually provided bags for their kids to put all the different materials in, because last year they were carrying around this, leaving it here, leaving it there. So we got the bags for them, and when they signed in, we gave them a bag, and that worked out very nicely.
Perfect.
Did you get your bags donated like from a local place, or you just did the basic simple bag?
We had some left over from a previous event, so we just had them there.
Yeah.
That's
I
a
also-
good idea.
yeah, I also did bags. I just did paper bags, but I also put the bookmarks and the tattoos in the bags. So they automatically had those. And I had a handout that kind of explained everything. And on the back, I went ahead and made a, where they could stamp every activity that they got to complete. And I also made samples for every teacher, so they didn't feel like they had to create the samples. But I really loved it. I did the garden in a glove ahead of time, so things were growing when and we taped it up on a window because we did that part outside, and the students could actually see that it was going to grow when they got home. Everything was sprouting, so that was pretty neat.
I actually had to see pictures of that. Tracy, you shared those pictures, didn't you?
Yeah, that was the picture I said, make sure you see this one.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
was
so
very cool. I'm so
I
glad
just
that you
had
were
a
able to
thought.
do that.
I had a thought and I don't want to lose it, so I'm going to put it out there and Elena can remind me that I said it and we can follow up on it. But so Melissa was talking about she had a handout with her map and her stamp off whatever for the activities. And then I went to another school that had a similar front back page just to some guidance on it. And I'm sure many of you do that. I was just thinking, maybe this is something we could do internally, is maybe make a Google Drive that we could share with you all, and you all could put your documents in there and get ideas from each other next year moving forward. I don't know. Is that something that sounds of interest?
Where I thought you were going with that was that the bookmark might be something that could be stamped to check off the activities the students have been to. That would give them a reason to first get the bookmark and then to keep up with it.
I like that idea. That's a good one too. Because that would be the perfect size too.
Perfect size.
You know, whether you do a punch, if you had a square or a circle, whether you initial it or do a punch with it, either way, the bookmark would be beautiful.
Yeah, I really hadn't thought about using the bookmark on the night of the event. But I guess my thought had always been you would use it to promote the event, and you could have a sticker on the back of when the date, location, time was, and you could hand it out ahead of time. But if you save it for the event, certainly there's some other things you could think about using. That's a good idea.
Yeah. I use it like you said, Tracy. That's my the day before last little thing to give to the kids with that sticker on the back. But that would be great for them to tote. That is just the perfect size, even if it was something similar to that.
Also, I use the handout. One side, I went ahead and sent that to teachers so they know who was hosting which event. And I also had links to the videos. So all the teachers had to do was basically the same handout I sent with the parents. So everything was in one central location. But I used that same handout. And I prepared everything ahead of time. I had baskets with everything in it. So all they had to do was stop by and pick up everything. So it was ready to go the night of.
Yeah. I had my Beta Club volunteers to help me because that box is so organized that all I had to do, I had my notebook out and I had my box. And so I would give I have these boxes that when we do STEM challenge, we already have their teachers, the homeroom names and the teacher's name. And so we just took it out of the notebook with the directions, and I would tell the kids, okay, this box is this is it. They would get the stuff out of the box and put it right in. It just made it so easy.
Yeah. And I think, Melissa, you were the one that did this. That we talked about this when I was at your school, but Melissa had made like poster machine size signs. And she did not, instead of printing the name of the activity on it, she put that where she could write on, wipe off, because she could reuse them again. They have the robot on them, I think.
Yeah, they did.
And I thought that was amazing, thinking of, I can use these again and not have to remake signs every single year with a station name on it. I can just laminate these and write on and wipe off, which was awesome.
A lot of really great ideas. I love it.
We did little snack bags for the kids. I think it had a bag of chips, a Capri Sun, and a sucker in it. And that was popular, of course. And
I bet.
yeah, the stickers and little, what do you call them? Like tattoos where the child dips it in water. So they had tattoos that helped to shorten the face painting line a little bit. In the past, when I've done these, I had to have more stations than activities. And so I had to come up with a few additional activities. And I've also had other entities that wanted to come and set up and do an activity. So thinking back about some of the past activities and things that we could order and be able to put together quickly for kids to stop at those stations as well was helpful.
And I think, Kim, it's no secret, one of the things you've done in the past is you've used activities from multiple years because you had access to those.
Yes.
Being a repeat participant, you were able to go back and easily buy those consumable materials and reuse those activities, which I know I'm a classic education hoarder, But this Duke Energy Science Night stuff is one thing I would encourage you to keep, at least
Yes.
especially the high quality items that you can't easily reprint, because you will find places to use it again, either in a STEM lab, in a classroom, at a family night. You know, there's so many places you could use these ideas. So
After our event, the STEAM teacher from one of the local elementary schools contacted me to ask if we had the garden and a glove, if we had anything left over, and we did. So I took her all of that, all the leftover from garden and a glove.
awesome.
I plan to use garden in the glove with all my fourth
Oh, yes.
graders. Yes. That was, we love that one.
Mhm.
This is a really great segue into the next slide, which is what are you doing with your unused materials? So they're great for continuing to engage students in learning in those last few weeks of school. I think some people might be able to use them for summer camps. So yeah, I'd love to hear any other ideas that you all have for those unused materials.
The flute will definitely be added to our sound unit next year for fourth grade. This past year they did the sound machine from last year. We had plenty of leftover for that, and so this year I have plenty of straws that they will be able to make their flute. So we bring it back into our curriculum, even up to being able to just incorporate it into either fourth grade or fifth grade.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
Any other uses for those extra materials? All right. Well, with that, again, thank you so much. We really can't thank you enough for your efforts in planning this event, your willingness to communicate with us and respond to all of our emails and requests, sharing your event on social media, completing that feedback survey. Again, that data is really important to us to be able to share with our partners so we can show how successful this program is, so we can continue to offer it, but also learn how we might be able to improve the program for the future. So thank you for completing all of these tasks. So what does the future look like for Duke Energy Science Nights? Well, we will be meeting with our partners this summer to discuss plans and a potential timeline for the 2025-26 program. While I don't have a lot of details right now about what that's going to look like, we'll likely be sticking to a very similar timeline that we had this year. So when the new school year starts back up, keep an eye out for an email from us. You are all on our contact list, and we will keep you updated on when the application for next year will become available. So any last minute questions, comments, concerns before we check out for the day?
Thank you both for your support. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, we're really excited. You guys know, some of you know that have been with me since the beginning of this project. We've seen it grow. We've seen the success. We've seen the positive partnerships that come out of it. It's one drop in the bucket of all the things we can do for STEM, but we think it's a powerful one, and we think it makes a difference. So I really appreciate you all sustaining it, and just the fact that you would show up for a wrap up webinar and you would share your enthusiasm and your ideas. That means a lot to me and Elena both. So thank you so much.
Yes, it's been wonderful working with each of you, and we look forward to staying in contact. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll be in touch next fall.
Y'all hang on for that fast ride to the end of the school year now.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you so much.